joined early. If you weren't here yesterday, I'll reintroduce myself. My name is Mukoso Edi Obiako, and I am the founder of the Teenagers Formative Academy. Yesterday, I gave a brief introduction as to what the Teenagers Formative Academy is. And for those of you who were here yesterday, I'll just do the same. It's a faith-based academy that is designed to equip the leaders of tomorrow, hashtag the teenagers and young adults of today, to grow up with the right values, the skills, the talents, the tools, and the knowledge to be able to become high value adults. Today's conversation, or this conversation series, is really about empowering you teenagers, or you adults who has been a teenager once. You've all been teenagers, in the past. And for me, I know that there is always some things from the past that follow us on, into our future. So basically, one of the mandates of this academy is to not only equip the teenagers, but also help adults who are grappling with teenage trauma or grappling with things from their past that are dictating the way their lives are going. And we're saying that you can change that, right? So this conversation is empowering not just teenagers, but also adults who are grappling with those issues. It's really about a mindset change. That's what this is about. And today's conversation I'm very excited about because it is one I've been looking forward to for a while. Now, the topic, I know someone said this kind of topic sounds very strong. Yes, it's a very strong topic, and I think it's also very pertinent. We'll be having a discussion today with my very good friend, Bodam Taiwo, who many people know as Lady B. She's a lot of things. As far as I'm concerned, she's a Renaissance woman. She's a marketing professional, works in a very exciting industry. She's a feminine coach. She teaches etiquette. She's a mentor. She's an author. She's the founder of the Refined Lady movement. She's all of this and more. And I'm not going to hype her up too much because I'm trying to get her to come on one of the podcast episodes. So I'm going to use that as bait for you to come back and get to know her, and for her to want to come on and, introduce herself even better. So without much further ado, I will invite Lady B on to the live go through. But then everyone, just get ready to have your mind blown by this conversation because it is going to be like nothing you have heard before. You're going to be hearing things that's going to definitely change your mind, change your narrative, change the way you think about yourself and the society at large. Whether you're male or female, trust me, this is one conversation that you want to, be involved in. Okay, so we're just waiting for her to come on, but before she does, I'll just invite you to, tell someone, if you're live on here, tell someone to join. It's about to be a very incredible conversation. I know it will be available, on the rebroadcast. However, it's always best to be in the room so that you can ask the questions that you want to ask and not think about it later. But even then, we are always available. You can go to the website www.tfini.com, join the community, join our mailing list. You'll be able to interact with us. And Lady B is also one of our tutors. And you'll be able to watch the lesson that she taught that is now available, like I said, for free for 1 month only, right? So make sure you don't waste time and you take advantage of this offer. Okay, I'm not quite sure what's going on. Okay, she's ready for you, just like I'm ready for you, Lady B. If we can just get you on here. I'm not sure what's going on. Accepting your requests. Yes, I'm accepting your request. And I'm not quite sure what is going on. Welcome. Thank you for joining. You're just in time. You're just in time to hear the amazing Budam Tai will talk to us about authentic femininity and real masculinity. It sounds like a mouthful, but trust me, we've had a preamble conversation, and I'll tell you that it is not something that you want to miss because a lot of research has gone into it. Like I said, she is a feminine coach. This is her forte. This is definitely her forte. She has experience and a calling for these sort of things. And I love when I have guests like this because what it does is that it shifts your mind. Without challenging the status quo, we'll always just do things the way we see it being done. And there's a lot, I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but there's a lot of things that we've seen now as normal. And especially teenagers who have grown up in um, this, dispensation where things seem like a norm, right? So if something is a norm and you don't see any way it can be, then you would find yourself, yeah, heading for trouble. Okay. Finally, welcome, Lady B. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We had a bit of a struggle there. I don't know what that was about, but I'm so glad to have you here.
It is so good to be here. You're looking so pretty.
Oh, please
I'm
don't
almost
talk to me
I'm,
about pretty.
I'm almost put up a filter just so I can look
Girl,
all polished.
please stop. I always tell you, you always give me complex because I'm like, please, what's manner of beauty is this? What is it? What is it? But I'm so happy to have you on here. Thank you
It,
so much for taking the time. I know that you are extremely like I know that getting you is like getting visa. So I'm very happy that my visa has been approved. And I'm on here with you to have this conversation. I know it's an awkward day, an awkward time, right? So quite a lot of people might not, but we're hoping people will catch this on the rebroadcast because this conversation is. And let me remind you, remember how this thing started? We were sitting down having a nice time at one of your amazing events a few weeks
yeah.
ago, and we saw something that seemed like an anomaly. And I was like, yeah, what do you think about this? And then you started to blow my mind. I was like, save it. It's going to be a conversation. And here we are.
Mhm.
So I'm just going to I did a small introduction. I don't know if you heard, but I'm like, please, I'm not giving people, I'm not giving away too much because you're still going to be a guest on the podcast. You have to be, you see. So, but then maybe start off with a little introduction, not too much, just a teaser. And everyone, you can follow her at Lady Bodam Taiwo on Instagram or the Refined Lady Movement. And she's also the founder of Raw Woman, Real Authentic Woman. That's another mind blowing sort of ministry. But I'll give that to you, but go ahead and do like an intro.
Okay, fantastic. And I gave into the temptation first of all, and I decided to use the filter. So it's okay. But hello, everyone. Good evening. Mukasa, my dearest, it's so good to be here. Thank you for having me. And thank you for hounding me to make sure I can make this meeting this evening. But it's really good to be here. So my name is Bodam Taiwo. I am fondly and lovingly called Lady Bodam, Lady B, Queen B, some people call me BT, a few people call me as well. And who am I? I like to describe myself as an elegant burst of light in the world,
Okay.
right? So everything that I do is really about bringing light into the world. I don't ever want anybody to have an interaction with me or to meet me or to, just anything about me. And they're just like, oh, they forget. No, you can't forget when you've met. You can't be like, ah, there was just somebody. No, it has to be memorable. And that's because I'm very intentional about how I choose to live my life. So this elegant burst of light that I want to be in the world cuts across everything. I build multinational brands for a living. I've been building brands now for over a decade, and I promise you I'm young, right? But I've been building brands for over a decade now. I've worked in the in the beverage industry. I'm going to leave it open-ended that way for for a while, and I love what I do. And that's on the one hand. On the other hand, I like to say that I build people, right? So I equip women with, especially women of African origin, with the tools that they need to live authentically, lead, and thrive as the women they were originally created to be. In that zone of genius, I'm an equipper, I'm a catalyst, I'm a master manifester. Some ladies call me coach, and that's what I do there. I also am an etiquette and lifestyle coach, and I help women just understand the nuances of being and how to be a total lady. I really just help women design the lives that they truly want instead of living the lives that were handed to them by stereotype, by tradition, or by circumstance. Right? So that's another thing. And then, as you mentioned, I'm the founder of Raw Conversations, Raw Woman, and that is a faith-based platform where we just have conversations that you typically cannot have in church. We talk about the things that we blush about in our various churches. We have those conversations on there. I'm an author, a speaker, a mentor, and I'm an enjoyment minister. And I like to introduce myself this way because people will be like, I'm very serious. No, 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 stop. If you come now and be like, look, Lady B, let's go on vacation to the Bahamas. Let's just go to the south of France. I'm that girl. Let's have dinner, a long lunch, 2 hours. I'm the one you call. Let's go shopping, go have a long spa session. Is me, right? So that's also who I am. In addition, so that's a tip of the iceberg of who I am and what I do.
I love it. And I can attest to that enjoyment minister part as well. But that's so fantastic. Thank you so much for that introduction. And one of the things that you said is how we're going to lead this conversation. When you say you show women how to show up. Oh, before I forget, one of the things that Lady B probably forgot to mention is that she's an ex-beauty queen. Right. So if you see all those, nuance, and then she came on here, I was like, oh, you look so beautiful. Yeah. I was like, wash me, eh? You hear? I've heard. So yeah. So to be honest, I'm trying to paint this picture so that you know who you are hearing from and see just the gravitas that she's going to come with and understand that there's science, there's art, and there's orishi behind what you're going to hear today. So come with an open mind. So let's just jump right in. You said, you show women how to show up, or you teach them how to show up and not take the life that they were handed down. So I remember one of the things that started this conversation was the evolution of both genders, right? So we've seen women from the past change. Like we're not our mothers. I'll say that for sure. Like we're seeing marriages differently. We're seeing people raising their children differently. We're seeing men and women show up differently. At what point do you think that this shift happened? And what's that evolution looking like?
This one is a whole I don't know what, right? So I think it started off with, let me start with the generation before our mothers, and this depends on how old you are, right? But let's say the generation before our mothers, typically most of those women that are grandmothers, a lot of our grandmothers were either full-time homemakers or women who did business. But their primary responsibility, their primary joy, and all of that had to do with their marriages and raising their children. Okay, that was our grandmothers. And then we came to our mothers, the advent of our mothers. And for our mothers, a lot of them, got married. Some had a good time, some didn't. But they stayed there again, primarily for the children and primarily because they were financially dependent on their husbands. And please, I want you to hear me with discernment if you're listening to this, and to hear me and hear my heart. I want to. Let's see.
Okay.
My faith is
I
important
think
to
we've
me, no
lost.
matter what. Oh, can you hear me? Can you see me?
Now we
Am I?
can, but we lost you just
Okay.
before you told us how, to listen to your heart, before you were about to share your heart. Yeah.
Okay. So I was saying that a few things I would say as a foundation. Number one is my faith is very important to me, right? So I'm not going to say anything here that is counter to what I believe as a Christian. That's the first thing. The second thing I would say is that I love marriage. I love love. I honor marriage. So if you hear me saying anything that sounds a bit, bear in mind that I genuinely love marriage. I believe in the institution of marriage. I think it works when done the right way. But we have to understand, again, just going back to understanding who we are, and how we've evolved. Okay? So we're aligned, Abby. Very good. All right. So the reason why I'm saying this is because our mothers hung their biggest achievements for a lot of mothers, and I'm generalizing, was that they got married, they had children, and not a lot of them had more careers in that sense or things like that. So those were the advent of the mothers. Then we got to the advent of our generation. So maybe my generation starts the generation a little above. Let me say millennials or some millennials, right? Later millennials. If somebody my age had got married early, they could actually have a child that's almost 20 now, right? So the kids would be in their late. Did I just do that? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm 19. I just turned yesterday. Apologies.
It doesn't matter. Age is a construct, but I'm just going to point.
This is a lot of women now. We've now come in, and I'm going to use myself as a case study because I like doing this. So we I have a first degree. I'm an electronics engineer by training, right? So I have a first degree in electronics engineering. I have a master's in mobile and satellite communication. I've been working since the age of 20. I've been working for a few years now. So I'm okay. I can afford a life that I enjoy to a certain extent. I'm not there yet, but at least I'm not begging to live by the grace of God, right? There are lots of women that are extremely wealthy. They're not even managing life like me. They're extremely wealthy. Why? You know, the statistics have shown that in this decade, women are out earning men by a significant amount. It was never this way before. Previously, the men were out earning. Now, if you're a woman of African origin, listening to me, your own issue is even slightly different, because Africa is primarily a patriarchal society. So what that means is that the men were always at the forefront. And that is how a lot of the women who were ahead of us raised their children. They raised the children for the man to know he's at the forefront, for him to recognize that I'm the head, I'm the leader, what I say goes, I'm the oga. I don't, and people take it to different ways, right? I'm going to tell you a funny story. Should I tell you? I'm going to tell you anyway. So there was one boy that was toasting me one time. He was talking to me. I met him. I'm trying to see how much I should. I'm gonna say. So I met him at an airport, right? I was sitting in the lounge. He came up to me. We had a good laugh. He's like, "Listen, he's heading to another part of the world. I was heading to another part of the world. Can we exchange numbers?" We did. Later on, I was just sharing with my friends as I was walking to my flight that I just, had a nice chat. They were like, "Who?" So I sent a picture of his card. And my friend was like, "My God, do you know who he is?" I'm like, "No, please, who is he?" Anyway, she tells me who he is. He's this, he's that. So I'm like, okay, my prayers have been answered. Here it is. My husband has finally come. Hallelujah. Good. So we start talking. And it's amazing listening to him speak. He's a brilliant gentleman. So it's fantastic, right? Now, this particular day, we were talking as usual, and I was a bit busy in that season because I don't want to say the year it was, but I was a bit busy in that season. I was just completing writing my book and just starting some of these master classes and etiquette things that I was giving. So, he calls me a particular day. I think I answered the phone. It was morning his time. I was in the UK at the time. It was later on in the day my time, and he starts telling me, his morning. He has to stop somewhere to get breakfast, and it's so boring. The same thing every day because he's a bachelor, so cooking and him are allergic. So in my typical way, I mean, he didn't quite say it that way. I'm paraphrasing. So in my way, I'm like, it's because you've decided you're probably not hungry enough, because if you were hungry enough, you would have found a solution to the problem. And my brothers and sisters, this thing I've just said like this, like a joke, went left so quickly. And he, flipped How can I be telling him that? So I now, pacified him. Don't, I'm sorry, it's just a joke. Bele, what are you going to eat now? Have you reached the place? What have you ordered? But I knew in my heart that that fellow is not the one that the Lord has kept for me and has kept me for. And why am I saying this story? Men of that age, let me not lie, men of even this age have been raised to believe they are the head, they are the forefront. There are certain basic things which are technically survival skills that they don't do because those things are for women to take care of, right? And we are still raising men according to that template. Now, enter my sisters. We have been raised. Now, the man that raised me, my father is a phenomenal human being. I don't know how else to explain him, right? My mom is amazing. Okay, both my parents are fantastic, to be honest. Let me just gas them up a bit. I was raised by amazing parents. But I didn't realize women were disadvantaged until I left my parents' home. I didn't go to boarding school. I left straight from here into university. And it was when I got to university, I realized that, oh, women are disadvantaged sometimes. Women, there's women struggle certain things. Women, in my home, my father raised, were 4 children, my sister and myself, and then my 2 younger brothers. My father raised strong women. He raised women who could think for themselves. He raised women who could bring more to the table than just their bodies. He raised me to understand, or he raised us to understand that we have value and we have brains and we have insights, and I'm not an anomaly. A lot of our parents have raised their women in this generation to be like, look, there's more to you. We're getting careers now. Women now we have what? Female vice presidents. We have female prime ministers. Even on the African continent, we have female heads of organizations, female CEOs. Like, it is mind boggling. So we've raised these whole women. But the conversation is, we never raise the equivalent men that know what to do with this new class of women. And this is now the issue. So we have men that are still saying things like, I don't know what they're saying. If you don't cook me meals 3 times a day, and I'm not even going to enter into that one, because anything people want to carry, take it by yourself. In the after, I came back home at 4 p.m. You were not quite here, and all those kind of funny conversations. And the woman is having to be less than. I'm going to tell you a story. I was listening to a lady, she's Kenyan. I think she's Kenyan. And she was saying a group of friends and her were having lunch. We're having lunch at a restaurant. And they were a bit loud, they're a group of girls. And they didn't realize their conversation was carrying over to another table. And the lady is leaving the restaurant, had lunch, and she's like, oh, you ladies are such lovely girls, right? But I noticed none of you seem to be married. And one of her friends said, ma'am, did you raise me a husband? And the lady is like,
Valid question.
she pulls
And
it.
this is Kenya you're talking about, right? For
Yeah,
people who don't know, because I have Kenyan friends and colleagues, the institution there almost doesn't exist.
it doesn't.
I don't know about you, but no, it's not even, the statistics are there. 3 in every 5 Kenyan women is a baby mama, quote unquote. Like they just have their children,
Yeah.
and they have this culture where young people, I'm talking our age, the people that would tick our age box, are doing that polygamy thing where they're not exactly marrying, but they are having multiple women with multiple children and not married. But that's what the society looks like there. And the women, they just go and give birth and just move on. They're not interested in marriage.
The problem is we are not clear about who we are. We're not clear about what we are called to do. We're not even clear about our roles. Actually, I think we're not clear about our roles. And let me speak now to women in particular. So we've been sold this independent thing, it's great. And I'm not knocking it. I'm 100% strong, independent. I'm okay in life, right? I will marry when the right man comes that can match up, with some of the things. But as of today, I'm not married. I'm unmarried. However, we have to have wisdom to understand what feminism sold to us, and where the lines are drawn. I'm not in competition with a man. And I prefaced by starting to say I'm an electronics engineer by profession. I was the only girl that graduated my year 2006 from my university, electronics engineering. I have a master's in mobile and software communications, one of 2 women that graduated. So I didn't study, I don't want to mention any degree so nobody will get offended. I'm okay. But what it is I'm not in competition with anybody in the male gender. The narrative that has been passed to us now, especially to women, is that if you want to make it, you have to be like a man. You have to show up like a man. You have to be, aggressive like a man. If you want to pass across your points, you have to be brash. You have to do like this. You have to be, there's no point being feminine. If we were meant to be men, you have been created male. If you were meant to be brash, you have been created brash. And that is why I'm such a big thing of feminine leadership, because your style of being, an authentic leadership, especially for women, your style of being has to be different. Your way of carrying yourself has to be different. And because we're not taught these things, Mukoso, a lot of the time we are at odds with, we're fighting ourselves.
That's such a valid point. But you see, sorry, I'm going to drag you back because you started saying something and you stopped about the independent woman, right? Because that is one phrase that it is embraced and it is shunned at the same time. What is your take? What really is an independent woman? Why are men scared of independent women? Why do women want to be independent? Or why do some people feel bad when they are independent? Because we've seen this happen one too many times.
Why do women want to be independent? The simple answer is a lot of women saw their parents, their mothers, their aunties, big sisters go through things that money could have solved. Yeah. And women at the time were not working, or maybe they had some business that you just sell some things, you collect some things back, the 1 naira is not adding up to the 2 naira. So the independence came from a place of, I never want to be in that position where I'm dependent on a man or on someone for this. For some women, it's that their fathers died and their mothers were left as widows. And the lifestyle they were accustomed to, even if it was a very affluent lifestyle, they went from 100 to 0 overnight because they lost their parents. For some people, it was the interference of in-laws and extended family members into their parents' homes, or into some auntie's home, or into some uncle's home. So we've taken all of that subconscious conditioning, and women have said, thus far and no further. Right?
Okay, good. So now we're talking about our generation. Let's bring it down to teenagers, because this is about, the teenagers and the young adults. So these Generation Z that are coming, they are seeing differently because they are seeing us. So they are seeing these independent women. They are seeing these women who are, they are seeing the feminist movement that is running Twitter and running other social media, channels. What then should they be taking away? Like, really, I want us to even bring it home to what is it to be authentically feminine and really masculine in this world that we live in, based off of everything that you said that has been the evolution of where we found ourselves today.
So I'll start off with where it is they currently are, and then I'll speak to where most of them. And again, I'm speaking very generally. There are some people that will not think this way, and that's fine. A lot of young people today, younger teenagers, between 12 and 18, the first thing is self-expression. I don't want you to define who I am. I don't want you to define what I can be. I don't want you to define me by stereotypes. I buck against tradition because I've not seen the value of it. I don't know what it's doing. Leave me to be free and leave me to do the things that I want. Don't judge me for how it is I choose to be. And every correction now is a judgment, but that's a separate. Me for how I want to be. Allow me be free. Allow me express. There is that. However, what I would say is the way that there are some things that are encoded on the inside of us that we can choose to go against it, but you're always living a life where you're searching for meaning on the outside of yourself. So what does it mean to be authentically female as a young teenager today, for example, it means number one, understand who it is that you are. Understand, I always like starting to say by understand yourself. And what does it mean to understand yourself? It means understand how you are naturally wired. In a time where you are most at peace, when there's the least stress or least strain in your life, what does that atmosphere look like? What are you doing? Who are you relating with? How are you even speaking? What's the atmosphere around you? And what are you wearing? Right? In where you feel freest. That is point number one. Point number two is, where do you want to go? Now, with a lot of young people, I hear where they are and what they're doing today and how everything, I hear the today. But for you to take this authentic feminine, you need to know where you're going. Why? Because there's some things you might have to drop off. Not everything about the way you are today is everything about how you should be. There's some things you need to refine. There's some things you need to polish, and quite frankly, there's some things you need to totally eradicate.
You need to give examples. I mean, we've had this conversation, so let's give examples in this instance.
Okay, so let me see from my woman. Let me see, what am I going to say? Okay, so some things you need to refine. I'm going to speak to tone of voice, and I'm going to speak to communication, right? Now, I work with a lot of young people in my office, on my team, and really young guys, and they teach me all sorts of slangs, and I just feel sometimes like a grandma. I'm like, is this how we use English now? But that's by the by. But I also listen to them when they're giving feedback to maybe some of my agency partners. Now, because we've not learned the way of communication, or some of these young guys have not learned the ways of communication, the feedback is not landing. So the quality of excellence that you're going after, you're not getting it. Why? Because you're like, you know what, we use all these slangs, we use abbreviations, we use, I don't know, all those things. And it's great when you're having random conversation.
But not in the
not
business, not in the business place.
And that's why I'm saying you have to know where you are going. Because where going is what's going to cause you to know, how can I refine my communication? How can I refine my speech? How can I refine how I show up? There is somebody that I was working with, amazing. She's such a creative mind, but just cannot fit into the context of deliverables and KPIs and being accountable to somebody else. Now, what that means is, while I want to see you thrive, I want to put money behind you, I want to do great things, I will always hold back because I can't trust you. Young people, that's the thing. When you hear people speaking, it's that thing of, can you be trusted? So when I'm talking about you having to let go of some things, it might mean that you might have to let go of, this is the way I am, because what is the way that you are? What does that really mean? It's just
I spoke about this yesterday as well. That's just the way I am. There's so, and see, and that's it's almost like a byword now. Oh, that's just how I am. And for me, it's like an excuse. It's a cop out. It's not trying at all.
You just don't want to put in the work.
Yeah.
So there's the other thing I would say is, you need to define very quickly how you choose to show up. And this one is near and dear to my heart, whether you are male or whether you're female. I work with people from all around the world, across various age ranges, age brackets, across various spheres of influence. So from people that are just starting out to people that are really established in what they do. Different tribes, different tongues, different colors, different everything. There are some statistics that are still the same today. Maybe in 3 years or maybe in 7 years, the numbers will change. But as of today, the statistics say the same thing. One of my favorite numbers, I think, is 7. Yeah. And that is that people form an opinion of somebody in the first 7 seconds of their interaction. The studies further go to show that even after subsequent meetings with that person, the first impression they formed within 7 seconds takes a while to go away.
To be erased.
So tell me, what can you say in 7 seconds? What
Probably not
can you do?
much.
Nothing. It took me longer to introduce myself on this call. However, in 7 seconds, you can show up. In 7 seconds, you can have presence. One of the things that this my gentleman told me when I was when I met him in the airport. I walked in that day. I wasn't even wearing my typical heels. I was wearing black and black because I was flying, and I had loafers on, and then I had my handbag and my hand luggage. And he walks up to me, and let me not lie, that particular trip, I probably got the same comment between here and London about 4 or 5 times. Someone says, you have presence. Who are you? You walked, everybody turned to look at you. I said, I'm just a little girl over here. But the reason I'm saying this is, it doesn't happen by chance. You don't get you don't turn heads just by chance. Do I want to go into this one? I don't know. You need to
don't go into anything that people cannot change about themselves, because when you're talking turning heads and everything, not everybody's an ex-beauty queen, right? So there are some things that they can't change.
Let me demystify that.
Yes, break it down. Yes, break it
People
down.
can have presence. Every single person, male and female, can have presence. What is presence? It is you being intentional about the impression you want people to have when they encounter you. Everybody can decide that. Quite frankly, let me tell you something. It has nothing to do with your physical appearance. Yes, actually, zero. It has everything to do with, let me tell you, 2 or 3 very simple things. Number one, posture. How many people, how do you stand? How do you walk, male and female? When you're walking, are you looking? And we have cell phones now, and a lot of us are walking and we're curved like this. We're over the cell phone. We're not even looking up. How do you want to carry presence? How do you walk into a room and close the door? There's a technique I teach some of my students. You walk into a room and you close the door without turning your back to the room that you're in. That is how you command a room from the minute you step in. It's learned and it's intentional and deliberate. How do you put yourself together? I'm having a bad hair day, I've been unwell for a couple of weeks. So, I've not been able to do the things I normally do to look good and feel good and all of that. So I was saying today, but how can you just look okay and whatever? So I got this thing that has like all sorts of funky, shiny things on it, just so that when you see me, I still look well put together. It's deliberate. That doesn't happen just by chance. I rushed in, I told her I was running,
Yes.
I was late. I rushed and I looked at my face. I still just, made sure I touched up and just put on a little bit of lipstick so that it would show. It's deliberate. I wake up earlier in the morning so I can pull myself together. I spend time on Sundays pulling my outfit for the week. That is being deliberate. That has nothing to do with the facial features that I got because my father met my mommy. Right? That's just me. Yeah.
I love that. And so at the end of the day, how you show up and how you command your presence has to do with your intentionality. It's not something that happens by chance. Amazing.
Then
Amazing.
I've spoken about this tone of voice many times. Tone of voice is important. There are some people that, now a lot of people send voice notes on WhatsApp. Can I tell you people something? There are very few people's voice notes I listen to. I can't. I get irritated. So I'm already hearing the voice and I'm just like, oh my goodness, please no. Summarize it for me in text. So there's some groups on, there's some groups that are on, and admin team will be saying, have you listened to voice? I'm like, I'm waiting for someone that can summarize. I'm like, I'm waiting for someone that can summarize it, or someone that just give me highlights. Because it's not because of anything. If you're not engaging, why am I listening to you? How do you want to hold a room? I started off on my journey probably when I was 11 years old. I was enrolled in different things. I had swimming lessons. I had taekwondo lessons. I had piano lessons. I was as I started growing a bit older and I entered like 13, 14, I was active in the literary and debating society. I was a science student, active in literary and debating society. Eventually I became secretary of the literary and debating society. I was president of Jets Club. I would go represent my school at all these literary and debating competitions around the place, all those type of things. I was on the planning committee of many things in my secondary school. I was captain of my sports team. I was an athlete. Forget how I am now. I was amazing. 100 meters, you couldn't beat me. 100 and 200 meters, those were my races. I did 1,100 meters one day. I finished it and I fainted immediately. Long distance race. Right? But that's it.
Right.
Down to intentionality. So I started from,
Intentional.
don't think I just came into this thing now. No. So if you're a young person, if you're a teenager here, I'm going to ask you, how are you starting from where you are? How are you showing up in your school? How do you speak? How are you representing yourself? I moved secondary schools 3 times because we moved locations quite a bit, right? So my final secondary school, I joined in SS2. Typically, if anybody knows Nigerian secondary school, for the most part, you don't give leadership positions or, the cater positions to people that just joined. They didn't just give me a position, they created the position because of me. I was assistant head girl. Before I got to the school, such a position did not exist. But I stamped my presence from the minute that I entered. That they looked for it. Assistant head girl, she needs it. And I'm not saying I was the how should I say, I wasn't Miss Goody Two Shoes. I was mischievous. I can't even tell you these stories because you stop respecting me. I was but my naughtiness,
You were still able to,
yeah,
who you were authentically shown through. That's amazing. But you see, one thing I want to say, Bodam, you've spoken a lot about yourself, you've spoken a lot about women. But let's talk about men, right? Because obviously there are teenage boys on here. But I want to start by telling you something that I saw that was actually quite different. So I was at the Hallelujah festival that happened like a couple of weeks ago, and it was just such an amazing event. For those, shout out to anyone who's watching who was there. It was amazing, right? And then I remember when Pastor Ben Akaboeze took the stage and he came and he was going to pray for the singles. So I was sitting and there was a guy in front of me and he was like, oh, the singles here. And he says, that's 95% of the women here, was what he said. Everyone gave him a dirty look. I kept it going. But he did something that was very different that I hadn't seen done before. He asked the men to stand up, right? Yeah. So he says, the single men stand up. We looked around the room. Maybe we saw like maybe 10. So I was like, bros that said that there are 95%. What's going on? And so there was a guy next to me and somebody says, oh, you? And he says, no, I'm married. And the other one, he now says, so they asked him, get up. And I said, no, I have someone I want to marry. I said, yeah, but are you single? He said, yes, but not really. I said, bros, I said, you don't marry. And he said, no, but I have someone. I said, yes, but do you have, if she should come here now, do you have what it takes to marry her now? And he said, no. I said, bros, try for yourself, get up. Reluctantly, he got up. Ooh, careful. Reluctantly, he got up. The guy in front of us, too, I saw the girls harassing him. Reluctantly, he got up as well. So I was like, first of all, why is there a shame for you people to get? I mean, I'm single and I'm a woman of a certain age. If there's anything they've told people to do, single women to do, you know how they say, oh, singles get up, let's pray for it. I've done the most ridiculous. In fact, there was one, I can never forget, one service years ago. And the pastor said, I'm going to ask you to do something really ridiculous to show God how much, how much your desire is. So Hallelujah Challenge, people actually showed up in like wedding dresses and all. Kudos to them, amazing. This one, they asked us to not only stand up, we should stand on our chairs. We stood up on our chairs, yes, right? So these things happen. But what Pastor Ben did that blew my mind was he prayed for the men. He didn't talk to we single women didn't get up. It was the men who got up. And guess what he prayed? He said some of the things that you have said. That now women are out earning men. Marriages are scattering because men cannot take it that their wives are, domestic violence is on the rise. Women are going out there breaking glass ceilings, and men are somehow maybe resentful of it and season. So he actually prayed for the men, you know. And at the end of the day, we women, all we did was we got scrolls like love letters. It was so amazing. I was like, oh, I was getting ready. In fact, I said maybe this time they'll tell us to jump up or do something or the other. But he didn't even talk to the women at all. So I guess my question is, what do they have to do to really claim their role in society in this new dispensation? Because the truth is, they are belligerent about, whether we like it or not, about the trajectory that women are on. That's why they said domestic violence is on the rise, marriages have zero tolerance. Sorry?
Should I tell
So
you why? Should I tell you
tell
why?
me, that's what I'm trying to find out. Yes.
Because for the longest time in the African continent, we made men feel they brought to the table was money. We've taken that away from them. So what do they bring to the table? What authentic masculinity? That's what we need to uncover. Men are, think about it. Up until now, a man will do whatever. Some of them would, be unfaithful. Some of them will do, but they'll be dropping money. They're taking care of their wives or their whoever at home and everything. And everybody's like, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, he's still a bit naughty, but at least me and my children are okay. Have you not heard that?
Yes.
We've passed nonsense down. Except that now, in this dispensation, and the young people, teenagers now are going to see it even more. because women are still going, right?
Yes. Yes.
If we've told people for so long that money covers a multitude of sin, and so far as you're a provider, you're okay, then now that very thing that was the thing that they could hold,
They no longer have.
They no longer have. We haven't taught them how to be anything else, and so they're frustrated. We haven't taught them what it means to stand as a protector over a woman. We haven't taught them what it means to love a woman, the definition of love. Before all of that, we haven't taught them how to be a man. What is the definition of man? We haven't taught them how to be men of integrity. We haven't taught them how to have purpose. I was asking, I was chatting with really, really beloved brother, and I was saying to him, talk to me, what is your legacy when you leave here? What is it to be? He said, what? And I sent that message like 4 a.m. I used to send those when I wake up I see him. Send one kind of message 4:35 a.m. He's like, no, this is a deep question. How? I said, no, you'll be answered it. Because a lot of young men don't think towards that way. When we say, what's the legacy? I want to make a lot of money. That's not a legacy. That's not a legacy. Money is as money does. Today, okay, tomorrow, well, whatever. It's neither here nor there. So who are you as a man?
That's the question. But you see, if they haven't been raised, and we have already spoken about that till we're blue in the face, what can they now do? Like, so for example, I mean, this platform is really for the teenagers, the young adults, people coming up. What is the strategy to course correct? How do you now start to, move away from where you're coming from, knowing where you want to get to and seeing that the odds are stacked against you?
I think the first thing is to truly actually recognize that there's a problem. There's a man crisis, right? The second is to realize that, and I'm not trying to be, I'm going to say the positive things. I'm not trying to be a downer. But I think when we understand the extent of what the issue is, we understand the urgency for us to fix it. The second thing is that the odds are stacked against you. I don't necessarily self-identify as feminist. That's a whole other conversation for another day, right? I don't self-identify as that. But the fact is that there's an outright war. I know we talk about the war, the whole women disenfranchised is a real thing. But there's an outright war against man as God intended. I'm going to say this on here because this is a faith-based platform in a sense, so I can speak. There's some other.
Absolutely.
You see, when God created man and He created woman from the very beginning, He created us to reflect the two different sides of God, right? The way we work best together is when we are fully fused one and another, not even necessarily husband and wife, but when we are together. I believe what the enemy has done so much in our time, and what he's doing even more in the times to come, is he's made us completely opposed to each other. He's made us feel battling one another, and that if one rises, another cannot rise. That's a fallacy. Yeah? So for man to understand who he truly is, man has to know who God truly is. What are the characteristics of God that make God God? When you talk about somebody that is secure in his identity, that's God. The sun is shining, the moon is whatever is doing its thing, the oceans come, it doesn't move him, it doesn't shake him. He's secure. You know, God is so secure that he allowed Lucifer to fall, but keep most of his powers. Do you understand your security? His identity is not shaking in anything. He's God. I wish I could say it in pidgin, but I cannot. He's just there, right? Nothing moves him, nothing shakes him. As a man, you have to be secure that what makes you vital, the value that you bring to the table, first of all, is because you are a man. Not because of what you provide, not because of your finances, not because you can give seed to a woman, not because it's just you have the value that you have is because you were created male. You are that figure and representation of the Godhead on this earth. I promise you there are some things that cannot be birthed unless man stands in his place as a representation of the Godhead. That is number one. Then number two, you are protector. Protector of who? Protector of your environment.
Yes.
Protector of your family. Protector of those who don't have a voice. That thing of you being protector, it is encoded in your DNA as a man. So when men are abusing women through domestic violence, it's an anomaly. It's like you're raping yourself. I don't know how to explain it. It's a violation as to how we authentically created to be. You are a protector. That is how you were or how you are made. So it's realizing that, okay, who am I as a man? Number one, I'm a representation of God on this earth. So there are some things a man can stop in their environment. How can I say this? There are some things that should not encroach in your space because a man is there. Let me again, I'll use a parallel with my own family. There are sometimes, this period I was ill, I went home to my parents' home so that they could take care of me and let me feel like a 12-year-old again, right? There were some things I didn't bother about because daddy was there. Let me tell you, if I see a cockroach, I don't kill it. Daddy, there's a cockroach up. And I will run, I leave him and the cockroach. I'm
trying to sort it out.
When I was still living in my parents' home, I'd be like, Daddy, the light is not working. He's like, which light? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe you go and you go and see which one because, I need to go out. And I will go out because when I get back, best believe my parents sorted it out. It's encoded in the DNA of men. Women, we have our own law. And because we're chipping away at the things that are encoded, I can do it all by myself. Me, I cannot do it all by myself. Neither do I want to.
Now that's real. That's real now, because this is now touching on that independent woman thing that we kind of talked about. Because so you're essentially saying, even though you are independent, there are some things that are not your responsibility. Shouldn't be you doing it, right?
I'm not fighting it with you. Like someone was saying, you want to change time. I don't want to change time.
Me neither. I don't want to know anything about cars, to be honest. Like,
change it.
I just want to drive it.
Sort it out. Free me. I don't want to know. Survival skills. Can I check the engine or can I, open radiator? But I don't want to. Can I do it? Yes, I don't. So best husband, wherever you are, the day you just propose. Don't even marry me. You just propose to me. My brain was in some areas. I'm not interested.
So now you're giving us a snippet, because I know that it's probably be on the minds of many people when you sound, and this is just me, they will say, oh, it sounds a bit feminist, but you said you're not. And it's things like this that actually poke a hole into the argument, because a feminist will say you have to do all of these things by yourself to truly, live up to that, you're not interested. So that's not, so for me, what I'm taking away is that it's possible, and this is for like the teenage girls who would, who are listening or who would listen to this. It's very possible, right, to be, and I've heard you say this, because people think that masculine energy is for men and feminine energy is for women. No, you have both, but lean more into your feminine energy while not, trying to take on all of the masculine energy and try to be the man and the woman. Is that a good summary?
So because we all have that masculine and feminine energy, you have to know when you're portraying which. So there's sometimes I stand in a leadership role in my organization and I portray more of, or I lean on my masculine energy sometimes a bit more than I lean on my feminine energy. Okay. If I'm in a romantic relationship, best believe I am leaning into my feminine energy 120%. And some people, you need to have a transition zone. For me, my transition zone is the car. Is where I transition from being a leader into being a baby girl.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm not fighting. And so these are some of the things that I think to think about. And it's good that you provided that balance. As strong as I am, as independent as I am, as I do all the other things, you need to see me when I am in some context. I'm not fighting strength with anybody. There's some strong some days, and it's okay, right? But knowing how to have that balance and navigating that balance, I think helps significantly.
This has been an amazing conversation. If I leave you, we'll just keep talking and talking. So this is your invitation to come on the podcast, but stop playing, stop postponing this thing. We have to do it. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. So everyone, please, let's just get a thank you. Love, hearts, everything, emotions. Let's just give her some love. I know we're not very many, but definitely, I know people will watch it on the rebroadcast. So if you listen to this, Bodam is one of our tutors. She's actually one of the tutors of our Fruits of the Spirit series, which is up on the website. So go to www.tiffany.com. Register. We have the freemium package is on now. So if you register now, you get the access to all the courses for free for a month. So go on there, learn about the things that will make you who you are innately, created to be. Find your purpose. I'm going to watch this again. And if you want to, it's going to be here on the page, or it's also on our YouTube page. So you can find us on YouTube. It's Teenagers Formative Academy on YouTube. Thank you so much, Bodam. Thank you very much, everyone. There's still another, the conversation still continues. So tomorrow we'll have a very dear friend of mine who will be talking about service as a lifestyle. So I hope you've learned something today about your masculinity and your femininity, and do well to follow Bodam on her. I don't know if you take personal page requests, but I'll send them out. She's at Lady Bodam on Instagram, at the Refined Lady on there as well. And if you're interested, you can follow Raw Woman, RAW Woman. Thank you so much, Bodam. You know how much I love you. I'm so grateful that you took the time out to share with us today. Thank you, everybody, for joining, and I will see you same time tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.